It's the Wishbone Run Pure Sports. It's Holden here with G-Rizen, JT Hayes, and Uncle T. As we've got a lot on the deck for you today. Before we started, JT was trying to cause some trouble with Uncle T. Just absolutely unacceptable, especially since the show hadn't started yet. That being said, if you're not watching this on video, Uncle T, you did have something interesting to say about JT. He was eating an apple. What did you do to awake the beast?
What do you mean eating an apple? He wasn't eating an apple. It was a Reese cup, Holden.
Oh, okay. You told me
it looked like he was putting his teeth in, and I couldn't tell. He kind of like it was almost like he was like trying to get it in without us seeing it, like he was trying to get a last-minute bite to eat before the show started. And he kind of got down, a little bit lower where the camera was almost out of Circe there, and it looked like he was putting his teeth in. So I didn't mean any disrespect. I love JT.
Would you like to retort, old man, or should I just go to the winner?
No, I don't really have a lot to say to that. That's fine.
Thanks for bringing the passion today, JT. We appreciate that. G-Rizen, he won a qualifier. If you're watching this right now on the YouTube, you can see G-Rizen above his left shoulder. He has his dry erase board, and it says qualifier check. What happened to you? What sport was it? What was going on?
Yeah, it was a little football last night, little showdown slate. Actually ended up landing on the exact same lineup as our boy Hoop, who ended up winning $100K. Double kicker season got it done yesterday. I had
Who said to do that? Did you guys just come up with that by yourself?
No, you know what? I was looking at it, and I was pretty certain on 3 or 4 guys I wanted to play, and then I was just looking at the 2 versus 2s. I thought about the defense, and then I thought to myself, you know what? These kickers here are each going to kick 3 field goals or so, so I just went with that instead of going with some low-price guys, and paid off. So I think my decision at the time was Mooney or Komet or the defense or somewhere around there. So I went with Mooney, thankfully. He was getting shut out pretty much half the game, and then at the end he got that long bomb, and then he scored that extra touchdown. But yeah, great night. Got a King of the Beach seat. So hopefully I was looking at the guys who have seats, so I know quite a few guys from Run Pure do. So, man, that sure be fun to all of us get to go down to Florida and hoop it up on the beach for a few days. I would definitely enjoy that.
So that lineup did not win you $100,000, though.
No, you know what? I don't have as rich as parents as Hoop, so I couldn't get in all the same contests, and I was happy just to do well that I did. But I did win some of my other contests and won a few $1,000, but definitely not the 100K shipper that our boy Mr. Goat the Hoop had.
Yeah,
I had a couple 2 kicker builds. Actually, I had 6 builds last night. 3 of the 6 were double kicker, but the problem was on my double kicker builds, I had Deontay Johnson, and instead of, I actually had Freiermuth, I guess that's his name, the tight end, on my other teams with Komet. I played like a little double tight end thing, which you got to get different a little bit on those. You know what I mean? I think, and I had the right pieces, just not the right combination on that team. But congratulations to Hoop and you, G-Rizen. Good job.
Yeah, appreciate that. It's always fun to get one of them in your cap. Now I'm just trying to hopefully get me a FanDuel one. I don't want to miss out on that Arizona trip. That looks like some fun.
So I, too, had a win this weekend, and it kind of should put you guys on blast because it's unacceptable to lose to the host in DFS. And Mikey challenged me to a head-to-head on DraftKings. Finally figured out who this kid was. Also learned that he still lives with his parents. There's no way in hell I'm losing to anybody.
Are they rich parents, though, Holden? Did we find out if they're rich parents?
He doesn't work, so I'm sure he's mooching off his parents. They probably fund his DFS habit. And then he challenges me, and I say, he's like, oh, man, I'm going to kill you so bad I'm going to play my cash lineup, which was just completely insulting that he would try that. And I ended up beating the shit out of him, like 167 something to 131. And take that, Mikey. Take that, Mikey.
Tell him not to mess with Holden and the Wishbone people. Don't mess with us.
I just don't think if you're a coordinator, you're allowed to lose to me. It's just unacceptable. And that's what happened with Mikey. And it was just very disappointing for him. Hopefully he could show his face again. And then just to try and make it bad, he's like, you lucked into Nick Chubb. I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? My second highest exposure was Nick Chubb. I love Nick Chubb. Now, what are you shaking your head for, JT? It was unacceptable by the young man. He's on full blast.
First of all, everyone who knows anything about NFL DFS played Nick Chubb this weekend. I think he was in – I looked at the core plays about 15 minutes. I don't have an NFL core play anymore, but I looked at them 15 minutes before lock, and I was pretty closely aligned actually with Big T. But then, and Mike seems like a good guy, but he comes in a Discord and he's like, "It's all right. I'm not even mad because that's the only contest I lost." And I was gonna type something, and then I said, "You know what? I'm not gonna waste my time with this. This is clearly a lie. It's clearly erroneous. It's clearly him just trying to."
It was his cash lineup.
Just trying to cover up his wound and scurry away. But he is a good dude. And I just wish he handled that loss a little better. I wish he handled it with the grace of someone who is used to competing instead of, well, it's the only one I lost. And then I wasn't even going to bring it up until you said that he told you that you lucked into Nick Chubb. You lucked into who is easily identifiable as the best player on the slate.
Lucked into him. It was so condescending.
Stepped in hot shit and got very lucky.
And anytime Holden gets into it, when he gets a Chubb, it's luck. So
yeah, it's definitely luck, buddy, especially at this age. But I could see Mikey over there. He reminds me of the dude from Old School that Will Ferrell played, where he's like, "Ma, give me some meatloaf." That guy, and that after he lost, he was just screaming upstairs, telling mommy to get him a meatloaf, and he needed a hug. So. All right, Mikey, you got yours.
Broke his Nintendo controller. You probably made him break his Nintendo 64 controller. He's probably smashed it on the ground after you beat him.
Nintendo 64?
Yeah, he lives at his parents', right? He doesn't have an Xbox.
Who plays?
That's what I'm getting at. Come on, brother.
I know that he's good natured because we've joked around a little bit. I'll say that you're gonna have to have him on. You should invite him on next week to respond to the criticism.
Oh, tomorrow night.
And more importantly, I think you guys have to run it back this weekend.
No, that's what I do. I retire.
Actually, I'm on Holden's side here. I think you go one and done. You beat him.
Yeah, one and done.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'm not going to push my luck. I beat one of you guys. You're done. Like Big T, I'm 2-0 against bets. That guy, I feel like I can take care of him. The rest of them, the rest of you coordinators, I'm not messing with you. That's all I'm saying.
Speaking of Big T, how about that DraftKings little bit they did with him sitting at his computer and then the phone ringing and then it's ringing like a goat. And then they had me. I was thinking, this is great. And then when he actually answered it, I thought, well, this is bullshit. This is all fake here. He don't answer the phone. When you call Big T, he don't answer. So I was like, man, all of us who know him know he isn't answering. I mean, he may answer for his the lovely and talented one there in his household, but for us fellas, we're not getting an answer that quick. So
I will say this, G-Rizen and JT and Holden, since you guys are my boys. I am going to teach. If you like that little, what was that, a little 12, 15-second little clip, you're going to enjoy the next month because – there was a bunch of stuff that they taped, you know what I mean? Not only in Miami where he went a couple weeks ago or 2 weekends ago, whenever that was, but when they were in town again about 6 weeks ago, they taped a bunch of this stuff that I can't wait to see, you know what I mean, how it comes about and how they put it together. So if you like that one with the goats or with the goat quality, you're going to be in for a treat. I'm just telling you, it's going to be pretty funny.
Oh boy, it went. I liked it. Is that a sheep? Yeah. What's a goat say, JT? You seem like you're well versed in farm animals. What do you think?
I mean, really.
Bah.
I think I'm the only one of you guys who grew up in an actual city. So, thank you for that. I have no idea.
I'm just glad he didn't ask me the question.
Hold on, Uncle T.
Uncle T probably grew up milking sheep.
No, that's actually incorrect. I don't even know if I've ever been on a farm anywhere in my life.
What?
No.
I'm in
the northernmost part of Kentucky. I'm almost into Ohio. Like the further south you go in Kentucky down towards Lexington and Louisville, that's where you get into a lot of the like horse stuff and, you know, all that kind of stuff. Northern part up here, you don't see a whole lot of farmland at all up here.
Holden, I can tell you what, man. I've been on a farm. My ex-wife's family had a farm down there in Tennessee, and we went one time and we got some beer out and got, you know, we were told we were riding on a 3-wheeler, and he was looking for this one cow that was pregnant, and the guy he's an older fella had a shotgun on the back, and all of a sudden we get there and it was trying to deliver the baby, and it was stuck, and my man done stick his arm all the way in that cow and wrapped a rope around that thing. And here's me, this city boy, he's telling me to help him. I'm looking at him like, are you serious right now? Like, what is going on here? And then he hooked it up to the back of his 3-wheeler and literally pulled that thing out of the cow.
What the fuck?
And I was like, what is happening here? And he had to end up taking it. He threw it over some hill and said the coyotes will eat it. And he had to get the cow up, and I was like totally horrified. I'm still horrified about it 20 years later.
He pulled it out with a truck. Did the thing survive?
No, the baby was dead, but he was trying to save the mother. So
did she live?
Yes, it did. But it couldn't. It was struggling. It was stuck on the ground, so he didn't want to go through nighttime because the wolves and coyote would have got her. So it was quite the moment there. I must say, for a city boy, that is that's a different lifestyle. So that's no thank
we
you.
do a little outline, G-Rizen, to make sure that we always have something to talk about, and that was not on it. I would say that I must say, as
your outline like 30 seconds before the show starts,
as Uncle T
like a
said,
ghost.
That did escalate quickly, my friend.
That was fun.
I don't know that I have a comparable life experience to share.
You don't?
No.
Of all the people on this pod, JT, I'm sure you have one.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know.
Probably
with humans.
A serious question. Did you ever have feces thrown at you in jail?
Who are you asking?
You.
No.
That would have been comparable. I had a monkey throw shit at me one time at a zoo. Seriously, I was just standing there and the fucking thing threw it, and I was like, fuck you, monkey, and then I walked off. It was awful, man. Then those things really do that.
Holden, you ever been to jail?
I've never been to jail, surprisingly.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah, I think the only one that has is G-Rizen. That's it.
I mean, that wasn't his fault. He got framed.
He got set up.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Too. Roger Rabbit did it.
Who did it?
Roger Rabbit framed me.
Roger Rabbit.
Did you guys see what Jokic did to Markieff Morris the other night? I mean,
I didn't see it live, but obviously I saw the clip. Initially, I was on. I don't know. I'm going to be in the. I'm going to wait and see what you guys think, because I think I'm going to be in the minority here. But go ahead. What do you guys think about what happened?
JT, you got a take?
No, I haven't watched the clip. The only thing I'll say I haven't seen the actual hit. I saw the aftermath of Jimmy Butler yelling, and of course yelling where there's like 30 people separating him and Jokic, which is always when Jimmy Butler is at his toughest.
Yep.
When there are like 20 people in between him and the person that he's yelling at. So, it certainly wasn't the, what was it? The Rudy Tomjanovich hit, right? I mean,
oh God.
So but yeah, I mean, that's kind of my only opinion on the actual aftermath of the hit, is that Butler, he did this with Warren, with TJ Warren a couple of years ago. They get into a little scuffle. And then the bench is clear, and there's a bunch of people, security guards, cops, and all of a sudden Jimmy Butler then wants to chat a lot about what he's going to do, when the best time to do that, if you're actually going to do anything, is before there's 30 people in between you guys.
Well, about a half a dozen Heat went to the locker room for the Nuggets, and there was one fat security guard there, and somehow they could not penetrate the door with the fat security guard there. They just started barking outside. But I'll say this, those of you that don't know Nikola Jokic, and Markieff Morris goes up. It was a cheap shot on a breakaway. Jokic overreacted. He even said so, bumped him in the back and fucked him up a little bit, to be honest with you. But he'll be fine. Markieff will be fine. But the dude Jokic has two brothers that are just insanely strong. Like, these dudes wrestle bears. They wrestle bears. Jimmy Butler, first of all, is out. I think he's 4 inches shorter at a minimum and probably 50 pounds. Jimmy Butler will get destroyed. And then the Jokic brothers are now coming after the Heat and Jimmy Butler. I want to see the Morris brothers versus the Jokic brothers.
Well, the Morris brothers, as you guys know, the Morris brothers, they've caused some trouble, you know what I mean, in the past with different things. And then like those two are exactly, the most fine, upstanding, gentlemen as far as NBA waters go. But my bigger thing on the whole thing, guys, was at the time, and I had a lot of Denver guys in there last night in my lineup, and it was a 16-point game with 2:20 to go or so, 17-point game. My bigger thing was, why were they all still in the game? And I know, some people have a different feeling about that, but it was like 112 to 90. They were up again, 16, 17 points with 2:12 to go. And Denver was frustrated because of how the game had gone. Miami was frustrated about how the game had gone, and he gave a pretty hard foul, in my opinion. And there was some history there too that goes back before last night. So, and then for Morris to be the one that did it, I don't know. Clearly, I don't think Jokic should have done maybe exactly what he did, but I get it. I mean, I don't know. What were they doing in the game, guys? Is what I want to know. They're up 16 with 2:12 to go. I don't know. Maybe that's not a point to make, but for me, I was shocked that they were all still in the game, and clearly there was some bad blood. Miami was mad about how the game had gone, and it just led to what happened. But what do you think, JT? I know you followed a little bit.
Yeah, I think your point more so on why Jokic was still in the game, right? Morris is the backup.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Morris, the backup for Tucker. Morris,
right.
He's been on, 7, 8 teams by now in the NBA, and this is kind of the role he plays now at this point in his career, where he's going to come in and he'll give the hard foul. He'll, kind of police the paint, so to speak. And for Jokic, from what I understand, what people were talking about, like I said, I haven't seen it, but it looked like he gets hit and he reacts, and it's a retaliatory thing, and that happens in the heat of the game. I mean, I think anyone who plays sports understands what that's like in that instant second. I think it'd be much different if he waited until the next possession to go ahead and knock him down, but it was immediate. And I'll say this: look, I think Butler did what he had to do. He's standing up for his teammate. His teammate gets knocked to the ground. In terms of the expectations, I think people were saying, "Oh, Denver's going to Miami." No, I don't think you're going to see a whole lot when Denver is in Miami. Jokic kind of tried to quell the whole thing after the game by saying, "Hey, I looked at it. It was a little harder than I meant to. I can't be doing that. I was upset by the way he hit me," and took responsibility. So this whole thing afterward that plays out on social media about the Jokic brothers and the Morris brothers is, we'll forget about that by Friday.
G-Rizen, come on. I want to hear your thoughts here, buddy.
Yeah, when I first saw it, I thought to myself, man, these basketball players are bigger wimps than soccer players, for one. They're crying about a little ticky-tack push-down thing. I mean, come on. And for one, Jokic, I mean, them two brothers, he's the bigger brother, right? Like, you don't fuck with the bigger brother if the two younger brothers are badasses, because that dude's been whooping them two's asses their whole life. So for me, I think Jokic would have smashed Jimmy Butler and squashed him like no tomorrow. So I wouldn't have been messing around with Jokic, that's for damn sure. But definitely interesting. I saw a couple people were saying, like a tag team with Jokic. I think Jokic can handle it all by himself. I don't think he needs any help.
He wrestles large wild animals. It's pretty amazing when you think about it. Okay, we got that out of the way. So I think the next thing that we need to get out of the way is,
how did the hot chip challenge go last week with Rubio? I caught the end of it.
That was after the. You know what? Let's just get to that one now. Then.
Oh, my bad.
No. It's not a bad. It's not. First of all, Rubio completely wasted hours of my life. It was the worst thing ever. There was no reason for him to try the hot chip challenge. He pushed the start time back to 11 o'clock. He was 40 minutes late to the show because he was at some meeting. He goes on to eat. Meeting? Safety meeting. I don't know what it is. And the guy goes on to eat the chip, and he spends about 2 minutes on camera of the first 30 minutes he was on. 2 minutes. 2 minutes he's on camera because he's too much of a puss. And I can't wait to tell him this tomorrow night. I'm going to say exactly what I told him this already last week. It was the worst show that I've ever been a part of, and I wish that we would erase it from the universe. I never want that. If we want to scare away aliens when they invade us, just play that. It is just awful, Uncle T. It was awful, and you'd be very disappointed in Rubio.
Well, I caught a little bit of it on the replay, and he looked like he was struggling quite a bit, but you're right. He wasn't on camera very often. He went off camera quite a bit. But, again, who am I to say? I would never, especially, I mean, if I made a bet, which I don't think I would make that as my bet on anything, but if I did and lost, I would man up and do, you know what I mean? I'd try to take it and eat the chip. But for him to do it with nothing on the line, he just did it free-willing. That was very, very juvenile thing to do for Rubio.
Ooh, juvenile.
Juvenile because he's like the youngest guy at Run Pure, right? So
sounds like a boxing match that you guys all hyped up, and then when it was time for the pay-per-view, it was like a 2-second fight. And
speaking of
pay-per-view, down the toilet.
Speaking of the fights, I don't want to segue into a bad thing here, but wow, them fights were incredible Saturday night. I don't know how much you guys follow the MMA. Wow, that was a good card. I'm a nav, like not really a huge MMA guy, but wow, that was impressive. I don't know if you guys got in there and watched any of them fights, but that was a good card Saturday night. Nothing. Crickets. All right, let's go on to the next thing.
I normally do catch them, but had a busy Friday and early morning on Saturday, and then I had the Off the Chalk show on Sunday, which we recorded at 8:45 in the morning. So I decided, that maybe it wasn't the best idea to stay up until 2 a.m. So I missed.
That's the easy way out. Come on, JT. Let's see. You got drunk because Tuesday night your Braves won the World Series. You're drunk Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So you can't keep going.
Yeah, Tuesday was a good long night, and then some more celebrations on Thursday, Friday, and just needed a night to relax, right? To take it easy.
That's interesting because I do the show after you for about 3 hours, and I stay up late the night before. I'm usually doing my DFS stuff. Have you really reached the age where you need to get a good night's sleep to do a 1 hour show in the morning? Is that where we are, JT Hayes?
No, I was up very early on Saturday, and I had a long day on Saturday, and then you make it seem as if I go right back to sleep after the 8:45. No, then I'm building lineups, and then once 1 o'clock hits, I'm going out and I'm having drinks and stuff. So I chose to expend my energy on having fun on Sunday, Holden. Thank you very much.
Did you go to any of the World Series games? And congratulations. You really do deserve it. As someone with a heavy New York accent that roots for the Atlanta Braves, we could tell you're a diehard. Congratulations.
Heavy New York accent is debatable. Thank you, though. Definitely nice when your team wins. Holden, perhaps, you stay in Denver for the next century and something good is going to happen.
Did you happen, JT, did you happen to catch the clips on the field, which I'm sure you did, but of Freddy Freeman and his significant other and their little child?
Sure.
Let me tell you, Freddy Freeman, whew, he outkicked his coverage pretty good. I tell you what, he did pretty good in the marriage department. That's all I'm going to say.
Outkicked his coverage.
It's a family show, but have you seen his lady?
This is a family show?
Just smoke show, Freddy Freeman. Freddie was always been one of my top 5 guys in baseball. He shot right to number 1. After seeing his lady in the post-game celebration on the field. JT, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Chelsea Freeman. She's a woman about town here in Atlanta. So yeah.
What does that mean?
I mean, you downplayed that hard. Come on,
what does
you
that
gotta
mean?
back me here.
A woman about town?
Yeah, they're part of the social scene. They're part of it. Everybody knows who she is. So
is she like Paris
this is
Hilton?
Positive. This isn't a knock on him. I'm happy for the guy.
No, of course not.
Is she Paris Hilton of Atlanta? Is that who this is?
No, I don't think so. I just think that what would I say? How would I say this? Yeah.
Are you melancholy?
Am I melancholy?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like the right JT today. You seem a little off there, buddy. What's going on? Was there a tragedy or did you run out of gas? What happened?
No.
Doing okay?
Everything's good. Thank you. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, no problem. I was concerned, very concerned about you. G-Rizen, anything else you'd like to add before I get into a question about process?
Oh, I was just looking at some pictures of Miss Chelsea Freeman here, and
Yeah, how'd I do, G-Rise? I couldn't get a clear, straight answer out of JT because it sounds like he's got some stuff that he doesn't want to talk about.
I mean, yeah, well, she's definitely an 11 on a 10 scale. So
Thank you. I mean, come on, I'm 51.
Compared to the other wives?
Oh, she's smoking.
Yeah, compared to the other wives, though?
I mean, I don't have anything to compare him next to. I mean, but Freddie is you really can't say I outkicked his coverage. I mean, Freddie's pretty much the man.
No,
I mean,
he could have any damn female he wants.
Yeah, but you take his status and his money away, JT. Come on. Or, G-Rising. Come on.
Here, I'm going to send you something in the chat. Meet the wags. Do you know what a wag is, Uncle T?
The last time you did, does this have anything to do with cap, no cap, whatever they were talking about?
This has nothing to do with it. This Alex Bregman's woman.
Oh, actually, I remember.
Much hotter, not even close. Like Bregman cleaned up. Who else? Grinky of all people, Mr. Personality.
Yeah, I went down a bad path here, didn't I?
Huh? Kyle Tucker's wife looks like she's 12, so that's a little uncomfortable, and I don't want to comment on her. Yeah, I'm going to send this to you, and then you can look at it. Justin Verlander, his wife's kind of hot. I know he wasn't in the game, but he's a little bit, he was in the World Series, and his wife is a little bit better looking than that. I had a great interview with Kate Upton, by the way. It was easily the most uncomfortable.
Humble brag incoming.
Ever. Oh, no. It was awfully uncomfortable. I had my co-host doing like Yoda voices to her and ask her if she knew what 12-year-old boys did with Sports Illustrated when it came out in the swimsuit issue. I just tried to make it as uncomfortable as possible. And it worked. I mean, she didn't want to do the interview. So at that point in time, when you're talking with someone that doesn't want to do the interview, you just try and make them uncomfortable as possible and put them out of their element so they say something.
So you've had the one interview with Kate Upton. You've had, you've been, glossing over the whole, Lisa Ann, how you are in tight with Lisa Ann. I mean, guys, like, what are we going to do with Holden? I mean, I don't know. Now we got Allie, our new addition to the team, Allie McCann, right? So
I saw she's a host. Can we swap her and Holden out?
Yeah.
Well, I was going to wait 1 week.
Host the show.
G-Rizen. I was going to wait 1 week, and I was going to throw that up to the higher ups and see what we could do.
Should have her host the show. Let's see how that goes. That'd be like putting Rubio on here. They just would have no idea what we were talking about. Like,
invite her next week.
Nintendo 64. You think a 23-year-old has ever heard of a Nintendo 64?
I mean, he could have said Atari. I remember the Atari days. JT's had an Atari system.
You guys were playing Dig Dug.
Love Dig Dug.
I like Snafu on Intellivision.
Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong was always my favorite.
What did you have, JT? What system did you have growing up?
He didn't have rich parents, so.
Yeah, there you go. The Nintendos. I remember the Nintendo systems.
Super Mario Brothers?
Yeah, for a little bit. That was kind
Zelda.
Yes.
Super Mario.
Top Gun?
No, I always wanted to play the sports games. So,
me too.
Yeah. So
what about Mario Kart? You guys like Mario Kart? That's a newer one, but that's fun as hell. Mario Kart's fun.
I don't really play. I bought the little itty bitty one, the little itty bitty Nintendo with the old games. It's just not the same.
Yeah, no.
You can't relive your youth with that. Tecmo Bowl was awesome, but it's not that awesome. It's fine. I want to ask you guys this. This is a serious football question now, because JT said that he starts building. You build your lineups on Sunday, right? And Uncle T, I think I've seen a core of yours the night before. G-Rizen, when do you start building your pool and your lineup? Take me through the process.
I generally start on Sunday, to be truthful, because I play all the other different sports, and I like to try to keep in front of me what's in front of me. Not saying that I don't look into it. I do look into things. I kind of have an idea what I'm going to do, but we've seen so many times so far this year in the NFL where an injury comes out or there's some late game time decisions that affect what you're going to do. So I generally like to try to maybe start 10 or 11 in the morning, something like that, I would say. And then just try to narrow it down. Then usually by, I'd say usually by noontime, I'm locked up, but I spend a good couple hours from about 10 to noon, really breaking it down and diving into it.
What's your process there, JT? So you start on Saturday night building a pool, or is it all just Sunday?
No, this week, just the way my week went, I built on Sunday. Two reasons. One, the way my week went. The second was because of we had an unusual amount of injury news this week, and a lot of it breaking Saturday, Sunday. There's always some injury news, but this time it was quarterbacks and running backs, more COVID situations once again. So I didn't build my main lineup until like 12:15 on Sunday, which is very late for me because usually I have the skeleton on Saturday. And know kind of where I want to go, know who my quarterbacks are, who my top receivers are, who I'm going to use as my primary running back, stuff like that. But this week was it's a different kind of week, and I think we can expect that now probably for the remainder of the season, just because we see that the Browns have now put a bunch of guys on the COVID IR today, including your favorite player of all time now, Nick Chubb. So there's going to be a bunch of that stuff where it's going to be breaking with the protocols. So normally I like to have most lineups built on Saturday, but it just didn't seem possible this week.
Mr. Niehaus, please take me through Uncle T's day. Is it Saturday, lineup building, pool building? Where are you starting? Let's go through Saturday.
Yeah, I actually got through the week, usually we do this broadcast, obviously, or podcast, and then I'll get my golf stuff together the next couple of days, to be quite honest, and obviously filtering in a lot of the NBA stuff through the week. So it's usually probably Thursday or Friday. I'll try to catch either live or on the replay the Print Factory, right, with JSU and the boys, just to kind of get some tidbits, maybe some news that maybe at that point. I think they've been recording it a little bit earlier this year. I think last year it was on Friday nights. This year I think they've been recording it sometimes on Wednesday night or Thursday night. So I'll gather some info from there, and then honestly I'll grab some pieces from our Gems articles. Not to plug, not that I shouldn't plug, but our Gems articles that we all write each week throughout the week. You get good little tidbits from there. And then honestly, I all day Saturday, I don't even look at football, NFL. I usually go from Thursday or Friday and then right into Sunday morning with the wood shows and stuff. And then I'll start building my thing then. And then also I do have a GPP stack area, I guess, if you will, section in, on RPS too. So I will usually have that up on Wednesday night or Thursday. So I will kind of get an idea, and we'll talk about it a little bit tonight, right? Once we get into the football, Holden, we'll talk about maybe some games that look attractive to us. And that's where generally I'll put my main GPP stack at that point that I like for the week.
Do you narrow it down to games, or do you just take a whole pool of players, doesn't matter what game, and throw them in there?
Yeah, I try to cross off games. Again, I do things probably quite different than a lot. I'm usually a 5, 6, 7 lineup guy. I don't multi-enter, and I hand build most of my teams, which is something BigT gets on me about quite a bit. But I don't do enough lineups to where I have a huge player pool. Like this week, I had 6 lineups. I think 5 of them had Lamar and the captain, so I went pretty heavy on Lamar and tried not to spread myself out as thin as I normally do, which is probably one of the faults I have in DFS, to be honest. I try to maybe play too many players, and I think I'm trying to do a little bit better job this year of narrowing down my player pool, even at those 5, 6, 7 lineup builds.
JT Hayes, anything else you tell us about your process? I'm interested in learning. Do you cross out any of these games, or just look at every game and cross out players?
More based on players, and then it's I think for me, I've kind of come to the point where I'm trying to find the best upside in a particular lineup in NFL. And the early part of this year was tough with Cooper Kupp going off every week. We talked about this a little bit, I think, on last week's podcast or a couple of weeks ago, where wide receiver hasn't been volatile to the point where you can predict patterns, right? So one receiver goes off, and now next week, the team's going to cover him. And there have been some guys that have played through that, and Cooper Kupp being, the number one guy. Adams earlier in the season, same way. This week's pretty interesting because I think you have some guys that have let down for a little bit, a couple of weeks in a row here, that are intriguing in terms of bounce backs and pricing. That's the other thing. I mean, early on, in order to take down those big tournaments, I want to say 4 of the first 6 weeks of the season, you had to spend the, 7 to 8K on Cooper Kupp, and you had to have, I think, Adams 1 week. So it's been a little bit different. But I'm looking now, who's the greatest upside, and then fill in where I can with some of these guys that are, low price guys that even if they do nothing, it's going to be fine because I get those guys that are projecting as the top plays at each position into that lineup.
How do you handle that, G-Rizen?
I just I don't like to I don't like to just cross out games per se, because you may be able to get like an injury or like a low price guy that is a good fill in. Like we're missing Connor this week, or Edmonds this week. So Connor all of a sudden is a guy that's going to get a lot more run. So the news with Nick Chubb being out with COVID, that could put another guy, fairly cheap. So I can't say I cross out games, but yes, as you guys know, a lot of times I do like to stack games. So I'll generally, if I make 3 or 4 lineups, I'll generally narrow it down to 2 or 3 games and then mix in the plays I like and then maybe swap out. Like the low price tight end this year has been a thing that I like to kind of switch around, are those low end tight end guys, because we haven't seen the big games out of the Kelseys yet. We saw the big game out of Waller at the beginning, but the tight ends haven't killed you. So I do like to kind of stick to a same thing, like Uncle T said, not spread yourself out so thin, and maybe switch out some low end receivers and maybe that tight end spot and defense for that matter.
Yeah, my whole process just got cleaned up when I started working with these guys. A couple things. So I get to work with JSU and BigT every football season. And, well, it was last year and this year. So, but working with those guys. So they say cross games off, keep your player pool tight, and that's it. Like you can't sit there and throw in 50 lineups with every guy that you like just because you like those guys. So that's what I kind of do. I cross off 3 or 4, or I keep 3 or 4 games now, usually 3 games. And then if I find like, if there's somebody I really like a value or something, and he's in a shitty game, that's fine. I'll still dig into those games. But for the most part, that's what I've learned from these guys. Narrow it down, make it a little simpler, and you don't have to play everybody, because you can't play anybody or everybody, right, Uncle T? You just can't do it. I want to, but you're just spreading yourself too thin. You're going to lose a lot of money. Yeah,
definitely. Like you said, that's one of the holes I definitely need to plug up in my, process for sure, is definitely, and even going into golf. Everybody knows, golf's one of my sports as far as DFS. Same thing. Even though I've got 5, 6, 7 builds, I need to limit my player pool there as well. So, and G-Rizen brings up a good point, and, we'll talk about the positions later on, but, you got Chubb out, and then Hunt is eligible to come off the IR. He's missed the 3 weeks, but he's probably going to stay off at least one more week. You got our boy D'Ernest Johnson, who crushed 4s against Denver a few weeks ago, that will be along with, well, Connor's priced up to 6,300, so I don't know how chalky he'll be coming off that monster game and with Edmonds out. But D'Ernest Johnson probably will be a very chalky play, I would assume.
Holden, that just to add to the process thing, I think one thing that's important that I think that's helped me, that's some advice I got, is if you got 10 average DFS players and they're about to build a team with 3 players, who are they starting with? And then that kind of gives you an idea of the path that you think the general public are going to take. So if like a CMC is really popular, or a Henry, you already know he's spending 10K or this. So you already kind of know what's left. So you know which way the masses are kind of go. So sometimes I kind of like to think about that and then maybe think, how can I alter or change a little bit that will get me different, so that I can build lineups that will get me to the top.
Let's get into the games this week, and we're doing position by position on this show. JT Hayes, welcome back to the conversation. Let's talk some quarterback here this week. Boy, Josh Allen, it's been rough watching the Bills. the last couple of weeks. They got away with one in Miami. They got beat by the Jaguars, really. Josh Allen, 7-9 on DK, 8-7 on FanDuel. He's the top price quarterback up there. You'll see Dak Prescott back in here, up toward the top. Carson Wentz has a nice matchup against Jacksonville. Give me 2 or 3 guys that you're looking at early in the week.
Yeah, Josh Allen gets a matchup against the Jets. Jets have been getting shredded by everybody they play against, and now they lose Marcus May, who's their best coverage guy, best really defensive back. He's on the IR. Looks like he suffered some type of Achilles injury in that game against Indianapolis. So there aren't many better bounce back spots than a matchup against the Jets. So certainly an opportunity there for Josh. The other thing, and we'll have to keep an eye on it, is they did lose Zach Moss in that game against the Jaguars. He went out with an injury. I don't see them simply giving Devin Singletary the role that Moss has. So I think you look in that instance for more production out of Josh Allen and his receivers there against the Jets. Tom Brady just, it sounds crazy to say but just 7.6 against the Washington football team. Washington football team yielding a ton of points there. And then this game that's going to be in Los Angeles, the Vikings and the Chargers, an interesting game there. And Justin Herbert, 7-3, and even Kirk Cousins, who you told me not to play, and he went out and had a solid game. He was.
Who told you not to play him?
You did. You didn't want to
How
play.
How did he
Kirk
do?
Cousins. He did well. He did
What's well?
He's probably about the 7th highest total scoring quarterback on the slate.
Yeah, it's not
so
bad.
Not too bad. He's 6-1, and Herbert is 7-3 in that matchup.
Okay, so now throwing for 187 yards and 2 touchdowns puts you as the 7th highest quarterback of the week?
Comparable to the slate, right? I mean, you have to look at the slate. So when you have Josh Allen do absolutely nothing, when you have Dak Prescott do absolutely nothing, when you have a wild outcome in the New Orleans and Atlanta game to where Matt Ryan somehow ends up as the 3rd highest scoring quarterback on the slate, yeah, if you paid 6-2 for Kirk Cousins and got 21-22 that he got you, I think you were happy with that.
G-Rizen, give us a couple quarterbacks here, buddy.
Well, the GOAT would be my top quarterback. Uncle T knows who that is. And then the Prescott probably would be a good play. I think that game's going to be one of the higher scoring games, Dallas, Atlanta. I mean, there's a couple games that are in the 50s. So looking at pretty much the quarterbacks on all sides of that. But Brady stands out. Josh Allen, like you guys already mentioned, the Jets are just historically bad so far this year. So I just don't think that Josh Allen's going to throw up another stinker like he did last week. So Allen would definitely be a guy. But so Allen, Brady, and Prescott would be my 3.
Allen, Brady, and Prescott. Uncle T, quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, these guys brought up some good ones. I think up top over 7K this week. I mean, you really can't go wrong with any of them, to be honest with you. I mean, obviously the Allen call is a good one. He's up there at 7,900, and I actually love pairing him here in a little bit when we talk about wide receivers. Stephon Diggs is 7,500, which I feel like is I think a pretty cheap price tag on Stephon Diggs. So I do like Allen, but I like G-Rizen's guy. I like Brady and Herbert in those next 2 slots, 7,600, 7,300. Brady coming off the bye week last week. They get a Washington defense that hasn't been able to really stop anybody. And then Herbert, while he has struggled quite a bit, what, G-Rizen? I'm not allowed to take Brady?
It took us 2 years to get to the point where Uncle T said he likes Tom Brady. I think we should.
No, I've mentioned him a few times on this show.
No, you've never once said Uncle T like Tom Brady. So, hey, we finally got there, Holden. Just one.
Don't be sending me any shirts or anything. I'm not going to wear them. But no, but Brady and Herbert. And I think what's interesting, I think G-Rizen brought up Dak Prescott. He was awful last week, right? One of you guys talked about the Buffalo game, 9-6. How about who was the bigger disappointment, Buffalo or Dallas last week? Dallas.
Buffalo.
Yeah, but think about it. Well, I agree, but Dallas was getting throttled at home. It was 30-0 at one time at home against the Denver team that was in disarray all last week, trading Von Miller. We talked about it on this show last week, and we thought that was going to be a great situation for Dak in the passing game. So again, not to get too far off track, but I think it's equally bad, those two losses last week. But anyway, you got a nice flop lag situation with Prescott there. If you're going down a little bit, Holden, you guys mentioned Ryan in the game last week. I don't necessarily mind him if you're wanting to go down a little bit. I like the guys that we talked about, but if you wanted to go down, you got Ryan up against that Dallas defense this week at only 6K. But probably my favorite spin down would be Carson Wentz. I think one of you guys mentioned Carson Wentz going up against that Jacksonville defense. Now, hey, let's don't get all full of ourselves to think that the Jacksonville defense is all of a sudden any good just because they were able to come up with a good game against Buffalo. Not taking anything away from them there, but let's don't get too far ahead of ourselves here. I think Wentz could have a huge game against Jacksonville this week.
I mean, I'm just shocked that the Jaguars have won a pair of games this year. Seriously, at this point, they beat Miami and then they end up beating Buffalo. That was the shocker of the season. I mean, the Bengals over the Jets was big. I mean, at least the Broncos are competitive. Plus, that punt rule just screwed. I think Dallas comes back, might actually win that game.
Can I throw in another one as far as a shocker? Looking out now at who they've beaten since, how about the Jets beating the Titans 4 weeks ago or 5 weeks ago?
I didn't
Look
even remember
at who
that.
they've beaten since Tennessee.
Wow. Yeah.
If they were to play today at Tennessee, they would be giving them 14-plus points.
Yeah, they couldn't play defense early in the season was the problem. JT Hayes, anything to add here? Do we want to do some running backs, my friend? Running backs. Let's do some running backs. Is this the week to go to McCaffrey? Because it'll probably be all systems go. 19 touches last week. I think Austin Eckler is underpriced on DraftKings after a bad week. He's 7.6. He should be more than that. So give me a little rundown here at running back and then G-Rizen, when we get to you, I'm going to get to you last because you went first on the last one. Just make sure you bring up Najee Harris against the Lions. But what do you got here, JT Hayes?
Yeah, the three that I was focusing on to start with are the guy you just mentioned, Najee Harris against the Lions. And, I think it's hard right now to pair Roethlisberger, not to pair Roethlisberger, nobody's doing that, but to focus on any of his receivers. I mean, it's just painful watching him try and get the ball downfield. So I think Najee Harris is in a good spot this week. I think Dalvin Cook is in a really good spot this week at 8K at a decent game against Baltimore. He gets another really good matchup. Jordan Howard ran all over this Chargers defense last week. And then Aaron Jones, I have to see what happens with Rodgers because I like it better if Rodgers is in. Aaron Jones just 6.9 against the Seattle running defense.
All right. Mr. Uncle T, how about a little running back action here? What do you got?
Yeah, I like kind of what JT was saying there with a couple of his plays there. Talking about McCaffrey, you're right. He got, 18 touches? He said Holden, 14 carries. He had four catches on 5 targets, I believe it was. Not looking at it right now, but I believe that's what it was. I'll probably pass and take another wait-and-see approach with CMC. I don't mind Dalvin Cook initially, but when I as JT was talking, I was digging in further with Dalvin Cook, though. He did have 65 of his yards, guys, on 1 carry last week. So he had 17 carries for $110. No, I'm just saying, like, it was kind of he was really struggling for quite a bit of that game, and then that big carry got him over 100 yards. But feels like he's in a really good matchup this week. I think that game will be a popular game stack. For sure. It'll be a hard one to come and totally fade, in my opinion, this early in the week, just because it's sitting at a 52 total now, and I think that could go up between now and Sunday. But I agree with the Najee Harris call. I'll let G-Rizen, I'll skip over him, even though I do like him. I'll let him talk about him. Ezekiel Elliott and Aaron Jones, 2 guys last week that I played, and one of the reasons why I didn't crush even more, because, again, I had Lamar Jackson and I had, Jefferson and Marquise. I had some pieces last week, but the 2 of the guys that really hurt me, I had way too much Elliott and I had way too much Eckler in the last game, or in the 4:00 games. I'm sorry. So I do like both Zeke and Aaron Jones as maybe a comeback situation. I agree 100% with JT that I like Aaron Jones more if A-Rod is back in. So I don't think he's eligible even to come back until, like, he has a test Saturday, I believe. Is that right, Holden, they said?
Yeah, he's
he can't
coming
even
back.
Test till Saturday?
Yeah, I don't even know if he needs to be tested, but he's very slight chance he's not going to play. Very slight. So,
okay, good. So, so I would like him even more there. So, and then a couple of guys down below just to kind of throw in and mention. that I think are too cheap. Gibson for Washington has been just awful this year, but he is all the way down to 5,500 in a game that I think will go up and down the field a little bit. I think Washington will be trailing. I don't know. I know a lot of people like McKissick in those situations for Washington, but Gibson feels a little cheap at 5,500. And then also Melvin Gordon, it's a guy I don't normally play, but if you look at it, him and and again, the game script was real good last week. They got ahead of Dallas and they were able to run the ball a lot more, but at 5,300 against Philadelphia, I don't mind those two. It's kind of a couple of cheaper guys that we might be able to fill in our lineup come Sunday.
Yeah, I'm not touching that game, Uncle T. It's two dudes in a timeshare. You know what's interesting though? We still got G-Rizen to mention some names, but I think Darrell Williams is just in a wonderful spot this week. I don't know about the upside is the only thing. Maybe it's only a cash play, but he's got a nice matchup against the Raiders, who really can't do much against the run. And then we didn't bring up Jonathan Taylor, who might be the best running back out there right now. He's just been spectacular. So, G-Rizen, what do you got here, buddy? Can you start with Najee Harris?
Well, of course, that's really easy. I mean, anybody could pick that out. They're gonna, as much as they give him the ball, but they are on a short week. Monday night, Lions are on a bye week, off a bye week, so definitely a big, huge rest difference. I don't think that's gonna matter. But yeah, I like Jonathan Taylor, as you guys mentioned, and then Eckler I like. And then I think an interesting one, we're going to have to watch with Harris with New England, because if that's the case, then you might have a pretty cheap Brandon Bolden that we could look at too, which will be interesting. And then, of course, like we've been saying with Nick Chubb, Dearness Johnson, but that's a pretty tough matchup there against that New England run defense. And then I really think that Tampa Bay-Washington game is going to be a back-and-forth shootout. So I don't mind Leonard Fournette to fall in the end zone a couple times too as a low-owned guy, but definitely like some Jonathan Taylor, and I do like some Dalvin Cook too.
All right, let's get to wide receiver position. Uncle T, you lead it off here, buddy. With Rodgers back, is it just going back to Devontae Adams this week? Is it going to be that simple? I think Keenan Allen's in a nice spot this week. You still got Stephon Diggs. I know you brought Diggs up, but one of these weeks you would think he'd explode, but he just hasn't done that yet. The other guy, it was a little bit lower. I'll find him again. But Donovan Peoples-Jones, I'm back on him again.
You love that guy. I tell you what, I want somebody to love me like Holden loves Donovan Peoples-Jones.
He did it again, buddy. He did it again for me. Love him. All right, so give me the lowdown on wide receiver.
Yeah, there's some good plays up top. DA at 7,900 again. If Rodgers is back, I don't have a problem with it at all. A.J. Brown's been good. Jefferson has got, obviously, elite upside every week in his matchup. But for me, I'm probably going to start in that Stephon Diggs range. I really like him this week. I do think it could be a ceiling game for him this week against the Jets for all the reasons that we mentioned about, obviously they're going to – let's make no mistake. Practice this week for the Bills, I guarantee it was all business. That loss clearly, if it didn't, it should get their attention for sure. I look for the Bills to come out and really, really put a hurting on the Jets this week. And then going down a little bit, you got all these Tampa Bay guys. You got Godwin and Evans, 7,100, 6,900. I think they're in just smash spots. I don't know if AB is supposed to be coming back. I think he's still listed as questionable, but I like both of these guys in that game that we keep talking about that I think is going to go up and down. And then a couple guys in that Minnesota Chargers game. You got Keenan Allen now at 7K, and you've got Mike Williams all the way down to 6,600. So the last couple of games, Mike Williams has been basically non-existent. But, boy, you're getting a really good price discount from where he was at just 3 weeks ago. So if now the thing before was Mike Williams was priced up, Keenan Allen was the cheaper of the two receivers. Now again, even albeit only $400, you've got Allen at 7K and Mike Williams at 6,600. I do think those two guys are both firmly in play with Herbert this week. Going down a little bit more, you got Pittman at 6,300 that I really like a lot in that game to pair with Carson Wentz. That's an easy, hook up there. And then JT's guy, Russell Gage, came back to earth a little, or not came back to earth. He finally got going a little bit in that game against New Orleans. But JT, he's only 5K, I think, this week going up against Dallas. And again, these guys I'm mentioning as value plays, even at running back or receiver, these aren't guys that are going to be staple pieces, but I do think Gage, you can maybe work in there. JT definitely looks like he disagrees, but those are some of the guys. I'll leave a few guys out there. I don't want to mention everybody.
Mr. Hayes, what were you smirking for?
Russell Gage is not my guy. He plays on.
Well,
the
I
Falcons.
meant your team. The Falcons.
He plays on the Falcons. I think we're going to see this though. We're going to, you talk about the Falcons. I mean, Olamide, Zacchaeus, and of course Cordy. Once again, Cordero Patterson. Gage did have a decent game, and the reason why is because the defenses are locking down Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts with only a couple of targets, a couple of catches. I think you're going to see that. I expect that Trayvon Diggs is probably going to be the guy from Dallas who gets the assignment to cover Pitts. So, yeah, 5K, can't argue it if you wanted to sprinkle him in. But Uncle T did a good job running down the list here. Mike Williams is a guy that I have interest in early on at that 6.6 price tag. I think a lot of people will say, oh, it's flipped now. It's it's Keenan Allen. And no, I think it's a good opportunity, good spot for Mike Williams to bounce back and get
JT,
more.
real quick. I actually had a back and forth with a guy, Fernando Ramirez. He's covered the Chargers for a little bit. And I said, what the hell happened to Mike Williams? And he's been covered. He got hurt a couple weeks, and then he's like, dude's been double covered. So if they continue to double cover him, we're not going to see those big games. And then Keenan's going to keep blowing up. You just got to figure out, even in zone matchups, they're shading a second guy toward him. Fascinating what's going on with Mike Williams. And then Keenan Allen's had some good games since then.
Yeah, that's what teams do. And so now what are the Vikings going to do? They didn't do that to Marquise Brown, right? Marquise Brown had a big day. Are they going to decide at some point, teams are going to shift and they're going to say, well, we try to cover Mike Williams and we do a great job of that, but then Keenan Allen catches 13 passes. So, you also have, Eckler there who, as you point out, did not have a good game in Philadelphia. And so it'll be interesting to see, but I like the price point 6.6, and we'll have to see what ownership is. I think it's likely that people are going to gravitate towards Allen, seeing the two big games, and it's a good opportunity to play Mike Williams. Mike Evans, my favorite out of the Tampa Bay receivers this week. We saw Godwin go off 2 weeks in a row. Evans a little bit less productivity last week, even though he did get in the box. So I like him a bit. Pittman, Uncle T mentioned. And then one thing that I think be interesting to see if it gets ownership, but I think it's pretty big. I think it's pretty important for the Seattle Seahawks that Russell Wilson is back, especially with the four, essential, grocery bag guys they have as running backs right now. And DK Metcalf is 6.8 and Tyler Lockett is 6.2. So my favorite is, DK at 6.8. I like that quite a bit.
G-Rizen, what do you got here, buddy? Let's talk.
Yeah, I like the Seattle calls. JT, it sounds like the Seahags are going to get Chris Carson back as well, possibly. So that's going to improve their offense quite a bit. But definitely like your guys' Keenan Allen call. I don't think anybody can cover A.J. Brown on the Saints, and especially without Henry, I think they're going to be trying to jam it to him. So I do like that. Darius Slay got hurt and may not play this week, so I think that may open up a little bit on the outside against Philly, who's been really tough on the outside. So I'm not sure if a guy like Jerry Jeudy might be a pretty good home run call only at 6,200 on FanDuel. I think he's got some pretty high upside, but definitely do like the Green Bay Seattle game. I think that has the potential to be a shootout, but that Tampa Bay Washington game, you guys can mention McLaurin if you'd like in that game, but definitely like both Tampa Bay receivers. We've already seen a couple times where both Godwin and Evans have been on the winning team. So definitely like Chris Godwin, but Evans probably more so will probably get more of the touchdowns, but I think Godwin will probably get more opportunities. But yeah, I mean, receiver is pretty heavy this week. I think we're going to have to probably find some value at tight end and probably find a little bit of value at running back.
What do you think at tight end, buddy? What are you working at here? We kind of brushed on tight end. Is there an overarching theme of what's going on at tight end right now? I guess the last 2 weeks, Dan Arnold at 2.6. Albert Alberto,
Alberto.
2.6. I mean, I can't imagine it continues to pay off at this type of rate. But what do you think of tight end here, G-Rizen? Anybody way down low you would trust this week?
I mean, you look around in the mid 5K range. You got Dan Arnold, who's interesting against the Colts in a spot that they're probably going to have to throw to stay in the game. You got Tyler Conklin's 5,300 against the Chargers on FanDuel. And then Pat Freiermuth, obviously we just saw the big game on Monday night with a couple touchdowns against the Lions. He's only 5,100. But, you know, I don't think I'm going to be paying up too much higher. I mean, Hawkinson's like 6,500. Pitts is 69. They're the two highest. But I don't see myself really going too high. So I do like Freiermuth, and I do like some Dan Arnold as well.
What were you saying, Uncle T?
I thought it looked like he froze. It might have been my screen.
You want to talk about tight end since we're on you?
Yeah, I agree 100%. The guys I started with here, I'm not looking to pay up at all. We keep trying to make some of these expensive tight ends work. At least I do. And last couple of weeks, I've kind of gone away from that, and it's been working. So, you know, for me, I'm probably starting at that Freiermuth area, 3,900. You even got Ricky Seals-Jones, you know, in that game, 39 or 3,700. Arnold, 35. Conklin, Alberto. So I'm going to probably, at least again right now, without knowing, you know what I mean, kind of later in the week how it's going to go with things. But I can't imagine paying up for Pitts or Hawkinson. Or Schultz is up to 5K. I mean, that's shocking. I mean, that's pretty healthy price tag for Schultz in that matchup. So no, I'm like G-Rizen. I'll probably be in that mid to upper 3K range for my tight ends again this week.
All right, how you want to wrap this up here, JT Hayes at tight end?
Yeah, I mean, Hawkinson is a wide receiver one essentially on Detroit. It's not a great matchup against Pittsburgh. I think he's the second highest priced tight end on DraftKings at 5.5. Freiermuth is just a touchdown machine, apparently. He's going to catch touchdowns every week. So he's priced at 3.9. You've got Goddard in a decent matchup, Dallas Goddard. He's in the 4K range. And then, you know, Conklin, whichever one of the three, you know, tight ends for the Chargers, since they all seem to get a bunch of red zone looks every single week, it seems.
No shit.
That was three tight ends in the top 10 of the wide end position or something this week in the same game for the same team. So, but yeah, it's an interesting week for tight end because no Waller, no Kelsey, no Mark Andrews. So all those top guys that are, you know, 5, 6K and above are not on the slate this week.
All right. That's it, boys. We are done.
Speaking of tight ends,
What?
Did you guys see Dusty ass Jimmy Graham at $200 in the Showdown? Caught a touchdown last night and it got called back. That would have definitely made a difference because I do know he was getting a little bit of I wouldn't say steam, but people were playing him. I think towards the end there at only $200, and that could have definitely made a difference on somebody's team having a 200 price guy get in the box. So
no doubt. He was actually a little bit involved. Maybe something to think about going forward. RPS Heater 25% off your first payment of a monthly installment. G-Rizen, wonderful to see you. Congratulations on the qualifier.
Thank you.
JT Hayes, congratulations on the Braves. Uncle T. Exactly. I mean, you could say the same thing to me. That's what's going on. For Uncle T.
Congratulations for beating Mikey.
Thank you, goddammit.
Big win.
The big win here. I beat a guy that lives
Holden.
with his mom and dad. Just victory lapping over here. I'm Holden. Simon, get us out of here.